exhibit is being held in our atrium gallery, and we are really excited about it. It is 35 years through the lens. One of Ken's first jobs after he graduated college was to work with the Anderson Independent Mail, and so he's been covering events and people and places and things in our community for 35 years. And so we've got 50 different photographs that he selected that were special to him in some way or another that he wanted to share with the community. So we are really excited to have this exhibit here. The show will be in the Art Center from June 2nd through June 29th. Our regular hours are between 10 and 5, Tuesday through Friday.
Tell people how you got to Anderson, South Carolina.
Wow. Well, I was a college kid. Thought I was doing pretty well in photojournalism, and I was looking for work, and I asked my professor, do you know of any places? And he says, yeah, there's a paper in the Southeast. It's not real big, but they cover 4 college football teams. And I'm like, that's where I want to go. Oh, and he didn't tell me which ones they were, but I thought that sounded pretty good, being mostly a sports photographer in college.
Now, where were you in college at?
Oh yeah, that's true. I went to San Jose State. Finished in May 1988. But I had applied for the Independent Mail well before in October, and I kept sending clips. And then in mid-April, a photo editor called me up and said, "We like your stuff. How soon can you get here?" And what had happened was one of my references was the editor was a friend of the editor at the Independent Mail, and they gave him a good recommendation. And that's all it took. And so I packed up my 1987 Dodge Colt with no air conditioning, by the way, and headed across the country. But it was funny, before I left, I had heard about the paper, and it was in South Carolina, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do a little research. So I went down the dorm hallways, and I said, hey, have you heard of South Carolina? And guy said, yes, it's all right. And then the next guy said, oh yeah, it's great, I used to live there. And I said, that's the guy I'm going to listen to. And so I went on that, and you know, it's really nice to get here and start working and do the things you love to do, and take pictures and document things, and just try to be artistic, but with photojournalism, you know, covering events with photos. You know, because when I was young, when I was 6 years old, I wanted to be a cartoonist. I totally admired Charles Schulz and Peanuts, and I'd copied the art, and then I got into more real kind of art, painting, and different kinds of art. And then I saw photography as a more real kind of art, that you can make prints and keep your negatives and still make more. So I thought that was pretty good. But I also like sports, so I got to go to sporting events if I took pictures. So I thought, you know, this is going to be, and it's an outdoor job, and I like the outdoors. So.
Did you ever dream when you were unpacking your Dodge Dart 35 years ago you'd be having an exhibit in the museum here?
No. But when I got here in May '88, it didn't take very long to meet a guy who had been here for a while, and people knew him, and he was very admirable because he knew a lot of people, but he's serious. He's very good at it. He's a lot of contacts, and so I had met Paul Brown, and Paul.
He was originally a photographer, not a video.
Right. Paul had done video and film for the TV stations, and he also did still images for the newspaper, and then radio. So he's really the original multimedia journalist, before we were calling it that. And it's easy to admire that, because you know as journalists, we always look around at our fellow journalists at the same scene, and we say, what are they doing? You know, they're doing. You better pay attention to what they're doing, because maybe they see something that I don't see. And that's just being smart. You know, you pick up stuff. Oh yeah, I'm glad I saw him doing that. And so Paul's like that. You watch how he handles people. He's legendary. He knows people. That's the thing. So you learn to talk to people, and then take pictures. Try not to make the picture taking the main thing you do. Because think about it, really most of the time we aren't really taking pictures. Most of the time we're getting a position where you see a good angle, or just scouting it out, or talking to people. Because if the people aren't comfortable that you're around, it's going to be a lot harder to get a better picture. And just and sometimes you just need to. I mean, you always need to be a person, and that's more important. Like if you see something that just doesn't really fit the story, then you don't force that. That's not really nice anyway. You shouldn't make something that isn't. So they teach us in journalism, the two first words they teach you in journalism class when you're a freshman is be fair and be accurate. And if I turn in a picture that has nothing to do with the story, but it's a cool picture, that's really not that good. It might be a cool picture, but it's just not. You need to be fair and accurate, and you can sleep at night better that way too.
Like you said, you added to it being friendly, which is something that didn't come natural for a lot of photographers.
Well, yeah, in the moment, photographers can be grumpy. I hope, I'll be running with cameras and I see people and I sometimes smile, just try to remember we're having fun too, but sometimes you're getting around and it is kind of stressful or like a.
Do you have any favorite moments? I mean, you got so many years of things. Are there any favorite sets of pictures or any favorite moments that you shoot?
Just people moments, and it's funny because I always thought I wanted to be a Sports Illustrated photographer, and all I'd have to do was sports and show up to events, and then you realize doing that it's so one-sided. And when I learned that if I wanted to be a newspaper photographer or any kind of journalist photographer, I would have to do other things, people things. I had one of my friends in college said, I want to work for Sports Illustrated, but I want to do what everybody else is not doing. I want to do the people features. And I always remember Steve Alden telling me that. And I thought, that's pretty smart. So kind of tuck that away. Sometimes you pick up things along the way when you're not working. You see an image and you save it up, because when you see it later on the job, you're like, that's the shot. I saw that before. But Steve taught me that it's good to do other things. So you learn that not just in sports, but there's really good people features, and I love shooting sports and finding out something about that they're just a fun side or what they do, or maybe they play 6 sports, or just there's so many wonderful people in sports, and people forget that like I think the athletic departments are really good about reminding us that they're student athletes, not just athletes. And it's true. I mean, they have a mom, they have a dad, maybe they don't, but they're people, and they are affected by a lot of things that they are around, and it's just sometimes it translates into how they are. But again, I mean, I'm not trying to make up stuff, but I'm trying to be aware of the people and what they do and who they are, and just wonderful, diverse people in this area everywhere you go. And Anderson is very diverse. We have it's just wonderful being here. There's so many people in town that are really different from each other, and that's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being different. Just like having staff. I've worked with photographers that were not like me, and at first I learned this lesson, and I'd butt heads with this new photographer, and she's not like me, and then I realized, no, that's good. We want to be different. Are there any favorite people photos you got in here on exhibit? Or you just with people there's different things. I like the artistic side. Remember, photography by definition is painting with light, and so there are some images here that are I would think a little bit like paintings, but with a camera. like the raindrops, and those are kind of painting-like. But that's, if you see it and you're like, oh, there it is. Sometimes you shoot a lot of pictures and you think you have something, and you look back at what you shot and you realize, oh, there's the picture. Through the edit, I think half of what I finally come up with is from editing, like cropping a certain way.
And that also kind of brings me to, you have transitioned from film to the digital age, when you used to have to shoot film.
Yeah.
And really, you didn't know what you had then until you got back to the lab.
That is true. We had a film budget too, and I remember we were spending $1,500 a month on film. And the day we didn't have to have $1,500 a month on film, we had some publishers that were pretty happy, across the state and our own. And so it was nice to go digital. Plus, you look at the back of the camera. And
I was going to say, did it change the way you shoot very much?
It does. A little bit. You shoot more pictures, so you can edit more. I can go to a graduation and shoot every graduate that crosses and not worry about a film budget, and then go back and figure out who's who if there's a good moment.
You shot a lot of hard news too. Did you ever shoot anything you felt like you were in danger?
Yeah, hurricanes. I've been to 4 hurricanes, and I think the one I went to Wilmington. I think it was Florence, and when I was we were swapping teams because we'd been there 4 days, and the new team was coming in from Myrtle Beach up the coast, and Hurricane Florence was still coming through from Wilmington toward Columbia. And the photographer from USA Today, Jack Gruber, he said the only way back you can really get back, and I think it's still pretty good, it's only a foot deep of water, but is going down toward Myrtle Beach, but you have to follow the hurricane to get out. And I said, that's what we're going to do, because we weren't going to go toward Raleigh, and that was just flooded and closed off. And but driving a car through a little bit of standing water is plenty scary enough. That's scarier than driving through the hurricane rain. That's like just a heavy rainstorm. But when you're driving through water, you don't know if it's going to get deeper or stay the same or not. So that's when they tell you don't drive through water. I now know what they mean. And it's harrowing, and it's hopefully I won't have to do that too much. But if I have to, I'll be smarter about it, I'm sure, next time. It was.
Talking about people pictures, do you get a lot of people asking for prints of pictures you've done over the years?
Some. It's funny, around graduation time or Christmas time, right before, there's a mom out there or a dad that's like, gosh, it's almost, I really want to frame a picture, and but yeah, not too much. I think they see what's online, and that's usually good enough.
And in the last, you were fortunate enough to kind of caught fire with Clemson at the right time too in the last several years. National championships and things.
Well, I've seen Clemson. When I first came to Clemson in May '88, and then I sat in the West End zone with Danny Ford, who was then coach, and they were preseason number 4, and some say number 1. They were really good, and then they kind of fell off, and things were just coming off, and it just never got. They fired Danny Ford, and then they got a new coach, and you can never fill the shoes of a legend like that. So no matter, so they left him, and they got Tommy West, which was great, and then finally Tommy Bowden, and then Tommy was really good because he helped really hire Dabo. And then,
did you get along with all the coaches?
You don't really talk a lot to the coaches. I probably talked more to Dabo, but we try to keep ourselves professional. We ask the questions, and of course you talk to them as people, but you're there to do work. You're not there to have an inside that nobody else can have. And we try to be fair and accurate. And if he says something, make sure that it's portrays what his intent was. But wonderful, what a roller coaster ride. So there's one picture here Hunter Renfroe catching, winning catch in Tampa, and I always remember when they did that, and there were two photographers with me, and one could be on the field, and they said I couldn't be on the field, couldn't have a vest. And I said, well, can I shoot from the stands? And they said, oh, yeah, I guess you can. Okay. So I got shot from the stands the whole game. And I got a good shot of Hunter catching it. But the neat thing wasn't just that. I was getting wide-angle shots of fans just hugging each other and men crying. I mean, you have to understand, if you haven't won a national championship since 1981, you know, you might cry if you're a fan, you know, so it was terrific.
You've had a long career. Is there anything that you wanted to shoot that you hadn't got to shoot yet?
I don't know. I haven't shot a NASCAR race. Believe it or not, I've shot events where NASCAR drivers are there, like Dale Jr. and Dale Sr. at signing autographs together. I'm standing as close to me to you with those two, and you know, wonderful. They're great people, and it was just, those are neat moments. Those are people moments. Doesn't have to always be the action, but I guess that would have been neat. But it would just wasn't where they. We use a lot of wire stuff for the NASCAR. We really do a lot of the local sports here, and Clemson's local, you know. So
how many pictures did you go through to pick these out?
A bunch. I mean, I don't know. That's hard because
How many are in here? Yeah.
There's 48 pictures, and you know I remember, you know, Paul again. He's the one who asked me, "What do you think about doing an art show?" And I'm like, "Well, I would have never done it myself because, you know, I'm not going to put myself on a pedestal and say, hey, everybody, look at me,' you know."
Well, they did one for Paul. They did Paul.
But oh yeah, and I seen that his was really good, and I knew, and he said, I knew, well, that sounds like a pretty good idea. People are interested, so no, it was great. I went through a bunch of pictures, and found the idea was to find your favorites, and there are ones that I've shot that did well, but I didn't really I didn't like them. You know, they didn't really resonate. And they're more personal, interesting pictures, I think. You know, that, and it's fine. You know, I don't know if anybody wants to look at a brawl photo. You know.
Well, that shows you.
But they've seen it.
You obviously love it because on social media stuff, you're always taking pictures of your dog. You're taking pictures of your dog at work. You're always taking pictures, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. You know, I probably, you know, like Larry Bird said he shot more baskets in his driveway than on an NBA court. I probably shot more pictures of our dog than some things. But, you know, that's just, you know, but it's good practice. You know, next time I see a dog, I say, oh, if I just get it like this, you know, I've shot that before, I know, but you know what works, you know, and so you're always in your brain, you're thinking of how can I do that, you know, like when you shoot, I shot 15 graduations this year, and that's about what I do every year, you know, and just in the spring, and but every time you go to one, you know there's tendencies of things you're going to see, but you're always looking for a better version of whatever one that is, and you try different lenses, wide, medium, and long. And this year I tried a lot of long lens stuff from higher and different angles, and you get some winners. You know, you try to get better pictures. You're always trying to get better pictures, and I think that's kind of back when I was president of our student chapter of National Press Photographers in San Jose State. They said, well, write something that, you know, encourages the rest of the students. And I said, and I'd probably heard it before, never stop learning. And you hear it from other kids, but it's a good way to go, you know, never stop learning. And I hope we don't, you know, otherwise it'd get pretty boring. But
and this exhibit doesn't mean you're retiring, right? Tell people.
No, I can't retire for at least another 7 years, but yeah, it's fun. I mean, you know, you can't wait to do something cool and different, And even if it's this, you know things are coming up and you know it might be good, it has a chance, you know. I've visited classrooms with kids, and I try to explain to them when I go into a new assignment scene, when you walk in a room, you try to, there's a picture in there, you tell yourself, I know there's a picture in there. And that's kind of the attitude it's good to take wherever it is. If it's a baseball field, there's a picture in there somewhere, you just have to find it. And it is neat. It keeps as long as you stay on your toes, if, or as you say, try not to fall asleep on it. You try to stay awake and see what's around you and don't miss stuff. And if you miss something, don't beat yourself up. That's ways you could be taking pictures instead of beating yourself up. And I tell that to young photographers that are, right new into the paper. I said, you're wasting your time beating yourself up. Just keep shooting. Of course you missed it, but you got to keep going. Yeah, so it's okay. We all miss stuff, but most of the time we do get what we need.